Liverpool, supposedly England's most left-wing city. Yet, in early August, when far-right rioting swept across the country, Liverpool was one of the worst places hit. Rioters rampaged through the north of the city. They caused thousands of pounds worth of damage, setting off fireworks, attacking police officers, menacing passers-by, and torching a library that also served as a community hub. Many of us didn't see it coming. Liverpool is left-wing, right? This is the city that banned the Sun. This is where people are Scouse, not English. So how did ethno-nationalist violence find such willing executors in this supposedly red stronghold? We are here, amid more threats of the far-right gathering, to ask, is Liverpool a left-wing city? Was it ever a left-wing city? And is it maybe a bit silly to characterise an entire city according to a political ideology? Well, this is Novara Media Goes to Liverpool. So we're just walking up to see if anything's going to kick off. Highly sceptical it will. Right now, the only people that seem to be gathering are anti-far-right protesters, and even that's a small presence. Maybe that's because earlier a note went out telling everyone to stay home. But of course, it's hard to put a genie back in the bottle, and some people will still turn up, even if they're there to oppose rather than support. There's men in flat caps and, you know, the little vests and the tattoos, so I'm like, yeah, they definitely are here for the against side, but they've gone over to the side that we thought was for, so it's all up in the air. We need little badges, really. There doesn't seem to be any far-right people that we can tell. It is mostly journalists. Mostly journalists. I should really go over there in a second. Why are you here tonight, John?
Well, to stop the fascists threatening this asylum-linked refugee organisation. And, well, somebody's got to stop them, you know. It's been going on too long.
What does your sign say?
It says Nuns Against Nazis.
And I think that gives us a clue, but why are you here today, Pat?
We're here because we oppose racism in any form. And in Liverpool, we've a proud history of not allowing racists on our streets, and we'll continue to do that. And what's happening lately is horrendous. It's abhorrent to decency and human nature. And they're using the death of those poor children to be vicious fascist thugs. And it's got to stop. And we're here to make sure it doesn't continue. As long as they're on our streets, we'll be here to show them they're not welcome.
I think what's been going on is disgusting and not acceptable, and I just don't feel like I can sit there and watch it happen. So I want to be here to show me support.
Were you surprised by what happened at the weekend in Liverpool?
Yes and no. Like, obviously, racism is still rife in our society, and I'm aware of that. But also, I feel like it was such a regression what happened, because I don't know. I feel like in recent years we've been making a bit of progress, and it's just kind of a shock, to be honest.
We wanted to show our support for that community, and also for this community in general. I've lived in L7, L8. It's a very, very multi-ethnic community, and we're not having these prats turn up and do anything to it.
Are you Liverpool born and bred?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So were you surprised by what happened on Saturday?
No, not at all. Racism, unfortunately, obviously, has been part of this city for a very, very long time, longer than most cities in the country, because we've got, I think, one of the oldest black communities in Europe. Some people say it is the oldest. So no, I wasn't surprised at all, because I think there's an undercurrent of like covert racism that runs through this city. I've experienced it loads myself over the years, so I wasn't surprised at all.
Liverpool is, often painted as a city of unity, a progressive city. Some even say a left-wing city. Is this accurate?
Well, it used to be accurate, but while I was down there at the pier on Saturday, there were lots and lots of these people, these rioters, and they were actually from Liverpool. So Liverpool used to be very, very progressive and left-wing. Maybe not so much now.
So a lot of people of colour that we've approached haven't wanted to talk to us, but I just got talking to a group of Liverpudlian black women who said so I can repeat what they told me on camera. In fact, they asked me to repeat what they said on camera. And I said, Liverpool's got this reputation for togetherness and unity. Is that true? And they were like, no. Liverpool's always been a racist city. They said there's pretense that everyone's together, and sometimes on some occasions you will see it, but they said it's very racist and that they've experienced it firsthand. But they also said we went through all of this in the 70s. We experienced this in the 70s and we stood up then and we'll stand up now, and that's literally all they can do. How do you feel as a visible person of colour being in Liverpool at the moment?
Honestly, a range of emotions. I'm really flipping pissed off. I'm kind of a little bit tired because I have a lot of WhatsApp groups blowing up on me. I'm part of like a local people of colour wellbeing group and a few other kind of groups as well, and it's horrible. It's really shit, when you're getting reports of people who are afraid to live there, afraid to leave their houses, afraid to kind of go about their day-to-day business. My parents live in a grim little place, not in Liverpool, and yeah, they are obviously quite concerned about leaving, leaving the house, and I'm like, that's shit. Don't terrorise people into not going about their day-to-day business in their own fucking country. Excuse my language, but a little bit annoyed.
What's this going? What's going on here? These are all peaceful protests. The next two cops.
Why is the reinforcements coming?
We're just trying to make sure that we don't keep the peace between anybody.
As you can see, we've been joined by some reinforcements, and a lady to my right asked them, why are there reinforcements here? Why are reinforcements? Are the EDL coming? They said, we don't know, which either they do know or is a bit of a failure in intelligence on the part of the police. We'll soon find out. So last night we were out in L8 in Liverpool, what was meant to be a counter-protest, anti-racist counter-demo, except there was no one to counter because the far right didn't turn up. We did, however, and we talked to a lot of people present about why they were there, and after we'd done our interviews, the street filled up. Hundreds of people all turning out to show solidarity with the local ethnic minority communities who've been menaced in recent days. But one counter demo is only part of the story. And we're in Liverpool because we wanted to understand why the city that's heralded as England's most progressive place could be such a vehicle or be so welcoming to far-right violence. And to really do that, we decided to talk to some of the organisations and the people within them who work on the ground every single day in this city. So this is why we are going to be spending some time today with Fans Supporting Food Banks, a community organisation which, as you might have guessed, gets football fans to donate food and money to local food banks.
My name's Paul Chadwick and I'm a Communication Workers Union Branch Secretary. I work closely with Fans Supporting Food Banks and work within the community as much as I can.
And you're Liverpool born and bred, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah. I'm now 60 years of age and I'm enjoying life as much as if not more than I have done since I've been involved more with the community over the last probably 10 years.
And that community's had a bit of a shock recently because, there was a far-right riot that took place in Liverpool itself in early August, and before that there was a lot of unrest in Southport, which is in Merseyside. What do you make of the unrest that's happened here?
I think obviously it's sad for the murder of the three children, and our hearts go out to the family and friends. I think it's been jumped upon by certain factions who look to divide communities with hate, and we're here to show that all cultures can mix together, as they have done throughout history in this great country of ours. And we will work through these terrible times, and I know that love will always come and shine through, as you can see within these pantries. There's so much care for everyone, and we're here to help the poorest within our society.
Were you surprised by what happened in Liverpool itself?
I think there's a sort of a picture, there's a bit of a complacency within the left in Liverpool, where we feel that everybody sort of thinks along the way we do, and we hope that people will sort of get more involved, and the right are sort of a very, very, very small minority. I do believe they still are, but I think people were sort of dragged along to these events and sort of didn't see it for its true meaning. And that is where we were here. We appear to sort of try and chase them back into the dark shadows that they come from, the small minority, and get the community back on side by seeing the good work that is done with trade unions and the community in general through people like Ian Byrne, Dave Kelly, Rob Daniels, the Fan Support and Food Bank, and we just continue to grow and help people that need us most.
Were you shocked by what you saw?
Not particularly. I think quite fortunate living in a city like Liverpool that certainly for the last 40 or 50 years has been predominantly a left-wing city. It's always been quite easy to mobilise, as Scousers are well known and renowned for. Quite happy to have a protest and shout our mouths off. So I think unfortunately at the moment the biggest problem as I see it is that lots of the younger generation now feel totally disenfranchised. I think a couple of years ago during Corbyn's era of being the leader of the Labour Party and the Labour Party appealing and becoming a mass party, and then stepping aside and Starmer replacing them. Hundreds of thousands of people left the Labour Party. Lots and lots and lots and lots of communities now in and around, not just this city, but lots of cities that I go to. There's probably a generation of young people who feel totally disenfranchised, don't have a political affinity with any of the political parties, don't see any of the political parties of looking like them, of speaking like them, or representing them. So, no, I wasn't surprised. I was extremely disappointed that something like that was going on in the Liverpool City region. But I always believe the sense of community in this city second to none, and the people coming together as one, which was demonstrated last night. I've seen somewhere in the media this morning of saying it was almost a carnival-like atmosphere, and that's what it's got to be. We don't want to be standing toe-to-toe and having to fight. This city is full of good, decent, hard-working people, and love is stronger than hate. Love will win the day. We've got no place on the streets in our towns and cities for hatred and the preaching of hatred.
Within that disaffected generation, why do you think far-right messaging is taking hold with young white men?
I think, and I won't even name the individuals, because I think the media give them far too much credence, whether that's mainstream media or social media. And if you was going to give them any credit, which I'm not, however, they've managed to tap in. I refer to social media as an extremely useful tool. Unfortunately, anti-social media is used by tools, and that's the problem, and it's really easy for you to get messages, and I'm sick of the amount of people who say, I seen so-and-so last night on Facebook, and thinking that it's true. not sitting back and analysing and saying what it's saying, and you can clearly see that something's being photoshopped or it's artificial intelligence. That's why the right wing have managed to mobilise, in my opinion. Witnessing what went on in this city on Saturday night on County Road, the thing that struck me about that more than anything else is if you look at the troubles in all the other towns and cities throughout the country, you'll see lots and lots of people who are patriotic with the St George's Cross or the Union Jack. There wasn't one single St George's Cross or Union Jack in the troubles on County Road on Saturday night. They're the people I'm talking about who are totally disenfranchised. They've been left behind, no one represents them, no one speaks for them, and they took, in my opinion, the opportunity to get some payback. People need to get into them communities, they need to engage with them communities. And to use the old trade union adage, need to educate, agitate and organise. We need them to realise that all this hate that's being preached isn't the right way to go. It's not the right direction to go. This city's got a long and proud track record of being a city that welcomes people.
How long have you lived in Liverpool?
I've been born here. Just born here all my life. I'm like, it was 1960 I was born, like, so I've been here since, well, been brought up here, my family's here and everything.
What have you made of the recent unrest in Liverpool?
It's a bit worrying, the fact that I'm the colour I am and this is all happening, and then they're blaming it on, like, say Muslims and all that, and they're just saying it out of order in the respect of, like, people of colour or of, like, different nationalities getting the pressure over what's happened. So I feel myself personally, it's just that they're jumping on the bandwagon and using this as an excuse to venture their anger out, and at the same time they're saying it's down to, like, asylum seekers taking people's houses and jobs and all that, which is a load of rubbish, because I seen on the news yesterday that if you're asylum seeker you don't go on the council, you're not even allowed to get housing and stuff like that. So they're just distorting what's going on.
Liverpool is a city that has some of the oldest ethnic minority communities.
Right, and that comes down to, like, my dad. He's from Sierra Leone, West African. My mum's Irish and all that. So that's what I mean. In the respect of all the different nationalities, if you get me meaning.
So Liverpool's known as a very welcoming city, right? Do you think this is accurate?
Yeah and no. In the respect, if you go to certain parts of the city, you won't be welcomed. If you come down to the south end, then you will be welcomed. If you're sort of nationality, depending, you know, whether you're white or black. But if you're like, say if you're black and you're going to the north end, certain parts of it, you're just going to get racism, regardless. I've had it, I've experienced it. So you find that a lot of people here are more feel relaxed here because they're on the south end, because with it being a coastal type of thing. But anywhere else, certain parts of the city, and you're going to get racism.
What's the sort of profile of the people that you've experienced racism from in Liverpool?
The profile of them? Just the fact that, like I said, I use the word north and south. I've been down the north end, walking down there, cars going past and I've heard nigger. And then my son's had the same. Now my son's light-skinned, lighter than yourself, but he's got dreadlocks, and he's had racism. So there is that divide, and that's where all this is coming from as well, where they're all, like, the National Front, whoever they are, or the far right, are, like, getting people to join in by feeding them up with lies and stuff like that.
Obviously, you've been born in the 60s, so you've not just seen the anti-racist organised in the 70s, you also saw Toxteth in the 80s. Does this feel like anything new in that sense?
It's new in the respect that it's more organised, in that respect. And the way they're going round, and it's all over the country. And then they're using them children as an excuse and all that. So in that, but I think racism has always been here. It's just how dealing with it in the respect. And that, like I said, I keep using that word, depends what part of the city you go to and all that. It's you go to one part, you get racism, go to another part and it's okay. But you only find that down this end, which is towards the south end, Liverpool Lights and that.
Liverpool's always been very proud of its citizens being Scouse, not English. Does that still hold up?
Yeah, because I'm glad I'm a Scouser, to be honest. Even though I was born here, I've been to places like London and other places and haven't felt welcome. Because like the way they are. Because you can stand by a bus stop here and they'll talk to you, whether you're white or black. That's just a Scouse mentality and all that. So I do think they're more friendly people in that sense. But no, I'm proud to be a Scouser, I'll be honest, you know. And I won't tolerate the racism. I'll just stand up to it and all that.
The city's also characterised sometimes as progressive, sometimes as even left-wing. Is that a useful way to think about a city?
This Liverpool left-wing as in like what's happening now?
Just in general, as a city that leans left.
What do you mean when you say left?
Exactly.
And that, because I don't know. If you say left as in National Front, then I'll get a bit fear. But I don't really.
I think it's more like left because it's a Labour stronghold, like that kind of thing. But does that mean anything to you? Is that yeah?
No, not at all. Like, I just know Scousers as being people and friendly, but as towards left and all that, like I just asked you what it means. I don't really know what it means, but I know that there is racism here and there isn't racism here. But like I keep saying, it depends what part of the city you go to.
So we're here at the Abdullah Quillen Mosque in Liverpool. It's the oldest mosque in England, I think, and we've been invited here. We haven't just turned up. However, once we got here, the gates were closed, fine, normal, except two men came out who said that they were here from the Home Office and that nobody was allowed into the mosque until the 16th. We've had a few well-placed words, so fingers crossed we'll get in, but very interesting.
I've been in Liverpool for 24 years now, and I've been running the mosque for 22 years. And I'm really, really surprised that it's the first time that we've ever had such a massive attack on a mosque. And thank God on that night, on that last Friday night, people came in their droves who are not Muslims. So the local neighbors, Muslims and non-Muslims, and particularly we had a large number of non-Muslims, anti-protesters who are coming to safeguard us, which shows that Liverpool has always been a city of togetherness. A city which comes together when there is this type of incidents, whether it's a terrorist attack or whether it's a riot or some form of protest by the far right.
What's the state response been like? Because you've got beefed up security now sent by the Home Office.
Yes, I think since what has happened last Friday, thanks to the Home Office, that they have sent some specialist securities who are manning the building 24/7 for us. And that's a great news by the state. And I think this builds confidence for the community. The congregation members feel safe to come. And of course, this is the historic mosque. It's the oldest mosque in Britain. And in any means, we've got to be able to protect that building first and its people and the community in the surrounding area. Because don't forget, when the mosque gets attacked, it's the people nearby who are not Muslims or Muslims need to be safe and sound, and we tend to look after them as well.
What about contact with leaders of the Labour Party like Keir Starmer? Because prior to this attack, there had been accusations thrown at the Labour Party by some prominent Muslim leaders that they weren't taking accusations of Islamophobia seriously.
Yes, I think that's one of the things I've seen in the news recently. I think the Sir Keir Starmer as the Prime Minister now and the Labour Party as a whole do need to step up their marks and be able to make it an inclusive, that if the government starts to separate and encourages Islamophobia, then none of us are safe, whether you're Muslim or not a Muslim. And that needs to be taken deeper into the government's heart to say that, listen, we would need to do that. But recently, from yesterday, we had a brilliant message from the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police, Serena Kennedy, assuring us that police are in hand and they will be in every single incident that's taking place. They're manning it, and they have done really well yesterday. There were a number of places were due to be attacked, and nothing has happened, thank God. So the police have really stepped up their marks, and I want to congratulate them for supporting the communities and the businesses at large. But the government does need to do more, and it should have done more in the past, and we would not be ending up in this sort of situation at present time.
Yeah, have you had any direct contact, or any Muslim leaders you know had direct contact with 10 Downing Street in the wake of the far-right attacks?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure Muslims some of the Muslim leaders in the northwest and also in the London area would have met with him or have made some contacts with the Prime Minister, and I think they're having an ongoing dialogue as well.
What has the support been like from the non-Muslim community in the wake of the attempted attacks on the mosque?
Yeah, amazing. We are amazing, and we're really thankful to the non-Muslim communities who came in their hundreds when this happened, and they came in their hundreds to protect us as an organization, as a faith institutions, and we're really grateful for that. I think it shows unity, friendship, and togetherness that we stand against criminality, we stand against injustice, and that's what they've done, and we're really grateful for that. And we, as Muslim community, will stand for any other community wherever these type of things happen.
What do you think, finally, needs to happen now, going forward, to try and ensure the sort of outbreak and explosion of violence that we've seen over the last week doesn't happen again, and that the polarisation in communities is mended?
Yes, I think, when this incident happened here at the Kulliam Mosque, some of our imam and some of our trustees, I literally actually went over to those protesters and went to talk to them and gave them some food and gave them a hug. I think friendliness, it's not the hate that will solve the solution. It's the love and the care and the understanding of everyone will solve the solutions. So I think the way forward is to have a dialogue with them and talk to them to say, listen, what is really causing the problem in your mind? What do you need help with? What do you want to know? And as a mosque, we have actually always kept our doors open for everyone to come and see what the mosque does. When we have non-Muslims visiting the mosque, once they've visited us, spoken to us, they're so happy when they leave, saying this is not what we see in the media or what we see up there. So it's really a peaceful religion, and people are really peaceful. So this Saturday, we're actually inviting the general public to come between 7 and 9 so that they can also air their thoughts and angers and what they may have, and have a dialogue to say this is not the way forward. Love and understanding is the way forward.
My name's Lawrence Westgaff. I'm a local historian. If you know the history of the city, then there's lots of examples of racial violence in the city. Certainly race riots. We had race riots in Liverpool in 1919, 1948, 1972, and obviously everyone knows about 1981. Although they weren't racist in nature, it was the way black people were treated in the city that led to the outbreak.
These race riots that were racist in nature, can you give us some examples of the forgotten ones?
Yeah. So in 1919, a lot like what you saw in the United States, you had lots of soldiers being demobbed and coming back to the city. Seeing black people flourishing, working in the town, led to a lot of jealousy and ultimately racial violence, which ultimately led to the death of Charles Watton, who was killed by a lynch mob basically in the Queen's Dock down in the south of Liverpool. So 1948, we saw again the same type of violence, end of a world war, black people doing well in the city, and white mobs coming and attacking black people. In 1972, it was over council houses. Seeing people were supposedly thinking that black people getting preferential treatment as regards council housing led to racist mobs. So we're used to that in this city, but it goes back to a much longer period. You know, Liverpool has had a settled black community for over 300 years, and although we've been here for that long, we've never really been accepted as part of the community. You know, so you'll see other people, other groups of migrants, most notably the Irish, who've come through Liverpool, and within 1 or 2 generations, they're as Scouse as anybody else. But in the case of black people in Liverpool, that's never been our experience. And Liverpool's a lot like a city in the American South. It's a city that was based on the exploitation of black people, going back to our involvement in transatlantic slavery and then the slave economy. And we've been segregated. For a very long time, there was only one area of the city in which black people felt safe, the area that I grew up in, which is Toxteth. Things have changed now with the migrant communities putting pressure on other areas of the town, but that's a very new phenomenon. Even today, if you go around the city centre, you don't see black people working in the shops. I call it the McDonald's test. Most of the major conurbations that you go to, at least you'll see black people working in McDonald's. I challenge you to go to a McDonald's in Liverpool and see if that's the case.
Are there any indicators, economic or otherwise, that suggest it might be a hotbed for far-right violence to break out?
As I said, the world wars. Whenever there's an end of war, lots of males coming back wanting jobs, needing jobs, and seeing other people who are doing quite well, black people in particular, then that's always led to a kind of based off jealousy, if nothing else, and seen to attacks on black families. My family were involved in the 1919 and 1948 riots. My family have been in Liverpool for an awful long time, so I heard this firsthand. Although those generations may have passed away now, I heard this firsthand. So we know where it comes from, and we know it comes off the back of people thinking there's economic pressures on the majority community, and they've voiced their frustrations by attacking black people in their businesses. It's unsurprising in this city.
Why might some people still hold on to this idea that Liverpool is an exceptionally welcoming city in England?
I suppose it's because since the 1980s we have been at the forefront of the battle against fascism in this country. I remember speaking to Paul Gilroy, and he said to me, we used to look to the Liverpool black community in the 70s and 80s because you were the most radical, most uncompromising, most militant black community in the country. Off the back of that and the riots that took place in 1981, Liverpool did change. You have to understand that prior to the late 1960s, Liverpool never elected a Labour council. Since that time, since the 1980s, although we have had periods of Lib Dem control, it's been a totally Labour city, certainly in terms of its parliamentary representation as well as its councils. And I think that definitely comes from the spotlight that the black community put on Liverpool back in the early 1980s at the height of the racist Thatcher government.
But what's the landscape like now? So you have this really radical black community. Are they still present? What's changed in the white communities as well?
So the black community isn't as present. What I say in Liverpool is we have a Liverpool black diaspora because black people have been so marginalised in the city. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the Gifford report that was published in 1989. People have left, so you'll find black Scousers all over this country who've had to move for work because those opportunities weren't here. So our community is in some way diminished, but it's still there, and those who are active are still aware of this. For me, I would say nothing has changed. So if you say what's the lay of the land now, it's still in the north of the city. The black people who've moved in there, usually first generation, aren't aware of this long history of racism in the city and are having to deal with these issues time after time, day after day. As with most first generation migrants, they tend to keep their heads down. Unlike us, where we won't accept it down in the south of the city, in the Liverpool A part of the community. So it does, in many cases, it doesn't even get reported, but we know it's there. So for me, I would suggest that the lay of the land is similar, although now these pressures that are being put on these outlying communities in places like the north of Liverpool or the deep south of Liverpool, places like Halewood, Speke and Hunts Cross, which have never been welcoming to black people, that is starting to put another frame on it. In the past we were ghettoised, but now black people are being seen in other parts of the city, so inevitably it's meaning that there's more examples of it up there. I'll go back to 2005 when Anthony Walker was murdered in Huyton. Although Huyton isn't within the borough of Liverpool Council, Knowsley, it's right next door, and that was a family that moved out of our community and moved up to Huyton, and sadly that led to the death of one of the family. Liverpool is a city of immigrants. We're all immigrants. That's what's always made me so shocked at how negative we can be towards new communities. We're also a city that's lost half its population because of the great economic decline of the town. So we need immigrants. If you're talking about the city becoming what it once was, we need more people to come here and to bring their entrepreneurship and ingenuity to the town. So I hope that people still consider themselves to be separate from England. But again, when you see things like this, these are sometimes the children, well, inevitably the children, grandchildren or great-grandchildren of immigrants who are, involved in this violence. One of the individuals who's been sentenced today, his name's O'Malley. This was somebody who, when his family came here 2-3 generations ago, they would have witnessed the same type of, discrimination that people are seeing today. So for me, I don't understand it. I think people don't know their history, and they should know. They should endeavour to learn their history, and hopefully from that they'll realise that this isn't the way to go.